Welcome into the Red Sox Rundown. I am Jack Lautaret, your host from the home studio. Today we are off today, but Alex Bregman was just officially introduced as a member of the Boston Red Sox, had the press conference a little bit earlier today, and I wanted to give my thoughts and tell you why I think that the Red Sox pulled off highway robbery in this Alex Bregman signing. You may disagree, but we'll get into that in a minute. Before we get into that, first, we are on Instagram. I started an Instagram account called the Red Sox Rundown where I'm going to be posting the latest news, rumors, short form content all over there. The Dylan Cease rumor, you would have seen that first on my Instagram. So I will have the Instagram link linked down below in the comments and the description. The first 10 people that follow that account, I will give a shout out on the next video. So make sure you go follow that account. It will be down below in the comments and the description. I will shout you out on the next video if you give me a follow. Before we get into the Alex Bregman talk, I did want to have a bit of a follow-up on the rumors that we discussed yesterday around a Dylan Cease trade. Sean McAdam had his article come out earlier today, and he did confirm that the Red Sox have had conversations with the Padres about a Dylan Cease trade. Jared Carabas, like we talked about, had the first inkling, the first kind of rumor that was going on. And we discussed it yesterday on a video, so go check out that video if you've not already. But there is an important caveat to this. McAdam does say that they are more conversations doing their due diligence and not anything serious. But as we know in baseball, things can change quickly. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like there is as much juice to this as we may have thought first off. So yeah, I discussed this ad nauseum yesterday. I don't know if a Dylan Cease trade makes a bunch of sense. Of course, you're adding another Cy Young caliber starter to this rotation. That would be great. But what do you have to give up? What does the full trade look like? Do you have to give up a Tristan Casas, who I am very against trading this year? That's going to be something that we're going to have to see. And if a trade does happen, make sure you subscribe. We're going to have it all for you. Let's talk about Alex Bregman. I think that, and I talked about this a little bit on a short on my Instagram account, that I think the Red Sox actually pulled off highway robbery here. I've seen a lot of comments, both on the YouTube since yesterday, so thank you so much, but also just on social media in general, saying that the Red Sox got fleeced. Alex Bregman fleeced the Red Sox. This is a bad deal. This is a bad deal. I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'm going to talk first about why I think that this is highway robbery, and then second, I will get into the quotes from the press conference today, because there were some pretty interesting nuggets that I think a lot of Red Sox fans are really going to be happy about. First things first, the basic details that we already know. Bregman signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with the Red Sox, and it has opt-outs in the first 2 years. So he can become a free agent as early as next offseason once again, and there is a lot of deferred money. And we found out that that deferred money was pretty significant. Everyone is talking about the average annual value of $40 million a year. That's been kind of the number that has been thrown out. And yes, a lot of money, but worth it if you're not willing to go high years. Alex Bregman from the start made it abundantly clear he wanted a long-term deal. It seemed like he wanted to retire and finish his career wherever he went next. No team was willing to give him that deal. Well, at least we thought. But the Red Sox specifically were not willing to give him a long-term deal. And I agree with that. I was not willing to give Alex Bregman a 5, 6, 7-year deal. It just didn't make sense. And so upping the AAV a little bit more than other teams, you were able to bring Bregman in. You were able to convince him to come to Boston. But further than that, when you look at the deferrals, the cap hit actually lands around $30 million a year. So you are around the same ballpark of AAV as these other teams were, but you're getting him on a shorter deal. This was an incredibly creative deal that Craig Breslow and the Red Sox came up with, and they, I think, fleeced every other team that was in the running for Alex Bregman. Before I get into the details that the other teams had, grade the Alex Bregman signing for me. A, B, C, D, or F? Go down in the comments. Let me know what letter grade would you give it. I'm going to keep it $1.50 with you guys. I would give it an A. I think that getting Bregman on a short deal with, yes, maybe a little higher AAV, but with the deferrals, it's actually significantly less. Like I said, I think the Red Sox pulled off highway robbery. I think they came in at the last minute, swooped in, and stole Bregman away from these other teams that were potentially vying for him. And I think hats off to Craig Breslow. I got to give him a round of applause. That is a hell of a deal. The Red Sox committed highway robbery. The reason why I say this is because the other teams had mega deals in place for Bregman. The Astros were reported to have a 6-year deal over $170 million. The Tigers offered a 6-year, $171.5 million deal with an opt-out after 2026. And the Cubs had 4 years, $120 million with opt-outs after 26 and 27. So Bregman did pick the higher average annual value deal. He talked about in his press conference how he's betting on himself, although I don't think he leaves Boston after this year. That's just my prediction. But this was a phenomenal deal. Like I'm still glowing over the facts of this case because this goes deeper than just the stats. When you bring in Alex Bregman, you're not just bringing in a Gold Glove level infielder, which he is, a player that has hit statistically the best at Fenway as probably anyone in their career, which he does. But you're bringing in a veteran leader that the Red Sox desperately need. This is a young team with unproven commodities, with a lot of players that have not played in the playoffs. Alex Bregman has been there. He's done that. He is exactly what the Red Sox are looking for. And I think that having that veteran leader presence, especially when you are calling up a Roman Anthony, a Christian Campbell, a Marcelo Meyer, Bregman is someone that is going to be highly, highly valuable that I think is going to do way more significant good off the field than maybe he does on the field. And that's, I know you're saying, Jack, what are you talking about? No, like legitimately, I think the impact he's going to have off the field is going to be just as significant as the impact he has on the field. And that is a big deal. Okay. Before we get on to the quotes and talk about everything going on at the press conference, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I talked about it yesterday. Yesterday was the first video we did on the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel from the ground up. We did get over 100 subscribers yesterday. Thank you so much. The next goal, obviously, is 200. Let's get to the next milestone. Our overall goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers as fast as possible. So if you love the Red Sox, I'm going to be doing daily videos, short form content, everything on the channel. Don't miss out. Opening day will be here sooner than you think. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go Sox. Let's do it. Okay, let's talk about the quotes from today's press conference. I got a few quotes from Breslow, a few quotes from Alex Bregman, and a very interesting quote from Scott Boras on John Henry. Let's start with Craig Breslow. And this is all of these quotes. Okay, of course, this is going to be a very pomp and circumstance, very highly positive press conference. But I do think some of the quotes from Breslow are fairly interesting, especially when it comes to ownership. Breslow on Red Sox ownership, he thanked them for recognizing this as a unique opportunity and not just authorizing our group, but encouraging our group to get bold and decisive and aggressive in this pursuit. I think it's kind of become a little bit obvious that ownership is starting to take more of a front row seat in these types of negotiations over this year. I think we saw in the Juan Soto sweepstakes and the Max Fried sweepstakes that they were very aggressive, and that ownership, not just the front office, but ownership was highly involved in these negotiations. And I think that hearing that makes Red Sox fans feel really, really good. He also continued on the signing of Alex Bregman. He said, we entered the offseason with, a pretty clearly defined punch list of things that we were hoping to achieve. He talked about, all the needs that they needed. And then he continued, as the offseason progressed, it just became clearer and clearer that Alex was the perfect fit for what we were trying to accomplish. I wholeheartedly agree. Not only does he hit at Fenway like an absolute monster, but he slots in perfectly at second base. And he mentioned in the press conference, Bregman did, that he's willing to play wherever they put him. He said, wherever Alex Cora tells me to play, I'll play. So they did not commit to him playing at second base in the press conference, but it's pretty obvious that he will slot into second base. He was taking double plays with Trevor Story yesterday. There was video of it. So I think it's pretty obvious he will slot at second base, and he will be perfect, a right-handed bat to break up all the lefties in the lineup. Got a few quotes from Alex Bregman that I really like. The first thing he said in this entire press conference was, "I've been fortunate to be in the playoffs for the first 8 years of my career, and I plan on continuing to do that. I love that energy." And of course, I think a lot of Red Sox fans and media pundits across Major League Baseball agree with the sentiment that the Red Sox are a legit playoff contender, which is a breath of fresh air if you've been a Red Sox fan these past few years. Bregman on why he chose Boston. He said, "I feel like I have a great opportunity to win here. Obviously, playing at Fenway is awesome. Playing for a city that not only loves winning, but expects to win. I love playing in those kinds of pressure-packed environments, and I feel like we've got that here in Boston," which is, again, is true. Boston fans were a little spoiled. We expect to win 4 World Series since 2000, and I think that that's a perfectly manageable thing to want to have is a franchise that wins and not get complacent. And I think that Bregman values winning, and that was something he continued to say in the press conferences. He values winning. Winning is the most important thing, and to get him here in Boston to win is exciting. When Breslow and AC were asked about where Bregman will play, Breslow responded, "The most important thing was getting Alex in a Red Sox uniform as an elite defender. The conversations about where he'll play are ongoing, and when the time is right, we will make that determination." Again, he's going to play at second base. I don't think that that's going to be a shock to anybody, but we'll see. I did read a quote yesterday that he's going to get reps at short, at third throughout spring training, but again, if Campbell does not make the opening day roster, which there will be a little bit of a competition, but it's pretty obvious, Bregman is going to play at second base. Few more notes that I had. Breslow, John Henry, and Tom Werner were heavily involved in the negotiations. And Bregman's Fenway numbers played a heavy part in convincing Scott Boras that Boston was the right place for Bregman, which I thought was great. Scott Boras had some interesting quotes about Boston and why he came here. A few players that recruited Alex Bregman that I thought was fun. Trevor Story was one of the big people that recruited Bregman, and also current and former players. But most specifically, Dustin Pedroia was a key part in convincing Alex Bregman to come to Boston. He said that Pedroia reached out a few times in the offseason, and Bregman said that Pedroia was one of his favorite players, and AC compared Bregman to Pedroia yesterday. So a lot of Pedroia connections. Pedroia is my favorite player, so that's very awesome to see. The last quote I want to talk about that I think is the most interesting is Scott Boras talked about John Henry and a conversation he had with John Henry, because someone asked Boras, have the vibes around the Red Sox changed this offseason compared to the past few offseasons, which is a legit question, and I think they have. And Boras said, a conversation I had, this was kind of the big part that made Boras realize that the Red Sox were legit. A conversation I had with John Henry where he expressed a sincerity and more passion of saying, we're missing something here that should be here, that has been here, something that is lost, and we have a strong intent to return it. I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, but it seems like John Henry has a bit of a newfound sense of rejuvenation around the Red Sox franchise. And if you're a Red Sox fan, that is exciting. So that's it. Those are the quotes. Those are the biggest takeaways from the Alex Bregman signing. I think the Red Sox pulled off highway robbery. You let me know down below in the comments. Is the contract worth it? Is that 3-year, $120 million contract worth it for Alex Bregman? I want you to type a Y for yes if you think it is, or an N for no if you think it is not. Let me know. I think it definitely is. I think they pulled off highway robbery. I think they fleeced all of Major League Baseball, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Okay, that is pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching this second video of the Red Sox Rundown. We will be back in studio tomorrow talking about the latest Red Sox news, rumors, and everything in between. Don't miss out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And a reminder, if you follow the Instagram, I will give the first 10 followers a shout out on tomorrow's video. So don't miss out. Make sure you subscribe, and go Sox.